Why do we burn? There's a number of reasons that a prairie is burnt. That is part of a prairie ecosystem. So fire is an integral part of a prairie. With the fire, you burn, you stunt or kill the invasive species, which include almost all kinds of trees, as well as some of the invasive plants that have been brought over by the European settlers. The fire does a number of things. It gets rid of the thatch, which is all of the dead grasses and plants that are on top, which kind of stunt the growth. It also, if you look at it, at the end of burn, everything's black. It warms the earth. So in the spring, you're warming the earth, you're getting rid of all of the excess, and you're turning that into the burned grass, the ashes, actually become fertilizer for the plants. Prairie plants have extremely deep roots, and the value that they have is that there is a tremendous amount of carbon sequestration that happen with these deep, deep roots, taking the carbon out of the air, putting it in the ground. In the ground, it starts the whole composting process, enriching the soil, and in the Midwest had been blessed with all these prairies that we have this deep black soil, even up here. On the terminal moraine, where we have a lot of rocks as well, but we do have a fair amount of soil that is a gift from the prairie plants. Those prairie plants also send, and they're sending their roots down 10, 12, 15, even 20 feet, that as the plants die, part of them will die. These are now little tubes, little pipes that send water down into the subsoil. So they are water retention. The importance of a prairie is that they're heavy in water retention, sending the soil down, enriching the soil, and fire is a natural cycle of that. In nature, you could be having a fire every 1 to 5 years. Typical. And the First Nation peoples would often set fires to keep the grazing grounds open for the different animals. Where there was a deer, the buffalo. Yes, we had buffalo in Wisconsin that were needing to have the grassland. If you don't burn, you have a forest that will invade. If you look over my shoulder, you will see young, small trees, as well as some big trees that have invaded. That's going to be part of my summer project, to be clearing some of that, opening some of that up again. Why is Lerner Park good? Good for the community? It's something that we have a chance here of taking what many people call the swamp, the wasteland, something that is useless, which it is not useless. It is a very valuable little piece of nature that is in the heart of the village. There's going to be more in the central park of this village. It's wet because it's like an hourglass. It's receiving a lot of surface and underground water from about 10 square miles in Fitchburg and about 6 square miles west in the town of Oregon. That's all coming through and draining through Lerner Park. Hence why it's wet. Hence why a lot of the village in this area is wet. Why they had to remove the houses on Florida Street, because the water table was too high. So it's important in that it can become a wonderful passive recreation center for the walkers, the hikers, but it's also a living habitat for a number of waterfowl, a lot of reptiles, a lot of butterflies, other pollinator insects. It is their home because in people term, it's not useful for urbanizing, which is to our advantage. We now have something that we can have this nature in the heart of the village that people can walk through. There's a hiking paths on the west side that are paved, that are being used very heavily. The walkers, runners, stroller walkers. You have almost a 2-mile paved area, and we're looking at connecting that into Lerner Park and merging it. Having water management to help keep from flooding the village, help keep from help get Lake Barney back to where it's supposed to be, instead of 10 times the size it was 5-6 years ago. And if you are coming in and walking through Lerner Park, you're going to be seeing more and more of the prairie plants, the native prairie plants, which are starting to bloom now. So there's some spring ephemerals, and then all the way through into the fall to when the asters are blooming, you will have a cascade of sunflowers, of Jerusalem cherries, of cup plants, of prairie dock, of ironweed, all blooming in a variety of colors, and of course the ever common purple cone flowers. There's actually about 5 varieties of the purple cone flower. All these are part of the prairie and just a delight to behold. We're out here in the prairie. I'm standing a couple feet above ground on a deck that was built as an Eagle Scout project. And now you need to imagine that what was this like just a few thousand years ago? That right where we are would be a solid block of ice. And on this solid block of ice is actually a half mile tall.